Hi, I'm Katherine, and I have been an employee of FarWest now for 20 years, and I'm here to just give you some basics on fruit trees. We're not going to go into depth on the fruit trees, but I do want to go over some basics to help everybody out. I'm going to go over some of the things that to help you be successful, because being successful with fruit trees is what it's all about. I want to tell you that if you have any questions, you can pop down here to FarWest. Any of our staff can help you out. And I'm here a lot of days if you want to call, but any of our staff can help you out. We've got very knowledgeable staff here that can help you out. I have 3 handouts also that you can pop down for. One of them is on fruit tree types. And I always tell people that what a fruit tree is taste is all about what you like. So come down and pick this up. It's kind of just fun to read through too. And then I have one on fruit tree growing. So pop down and grab this if you'd like. Like I said, our staff can also help you out, but the fruit tree growing one kind of goes over the basics. What you need to do, the site selection, where to put a fruit tree. So all of that is in here. Like I said, we're going to keep this kind of basic today. And then one other one is on any concerns that you might have. So this is on insects and diseases. Not real common in the valley, but just some helpful hints for you. So those are 3 helpful things that you can pop down for. So let's go over just some basic fruit trees. So on the fruit trees, we have here 150 days of frost-free. So that is plenty of frost-free days for most of your fruit trees. Almost all the fruit trees. Apricots can get a frost once in a while in the springtime, but most of the years apricots don't grab that frost in the spring, so you'll be just fine. We're safely a zone 5-6 here, so that makes it a great zone for all your fruit trees, except for citrus. Our last frost here is usually mid-May. So kind of, things that might bloom a little early, like apricots, will get a frost once in a while. You can grow here pone fruit. Pone fruit is your apples and your pears. And then you can grow your stone fruits, which is peaches, nectarines, apricots, plums, cherries. All of those things you can grow here very, very easily. FarWest has a lot of varieties. Like I mentioned earlier, I've got that sheet with the varieties. We can grow a lot of really great varieties here. And our potted trees that we bring in here are quality potted trees. We do not bring in bare root. Bare root trees we have brought in years and years ago. We used to bring in bare root. And after years of watching people and their issues with bare root trees, we switched to potted trees. And our potted trees here are 7-gallon and 10-gallon. Those are nice sized trees. They'll give you a tree that in about 2 or 3 years you should be starting to get fruit off of. So like I said, we have those really nice quality trees here. Another thing we do have here is the 4-ways, and those are 3-ways, 4-ways, 5-ways. And the espaliered trees, fruit trees, those are really nice because on each branch of those, you're going to find a different variety. So you can get one apple tree with 4 different fruits on it, or 5 different fruits of apple, and so you can have all different varieties. That's really kind of fun. The other thing is all of our fruit trees are semi-dwarf. So they're not going to be huge. A standard tree is going to get like 20 feet. Our trees here, 12 feet, but you should prune on those every year. Even semi-dwarf, you need to prune on those every year. Plant trees in the spring. Plant good quality trees in the spring. You can plant anytime, but your best selection is going to be in the springtime. And last year we sold out of fruit trees, so don't wait too long to get your fruit trees. I'm going to start with the beginning of the year. So we're going to start in the springtime. In the springtime, we want to do a couple things. There's a couple important things to do. One of them is that pruning that I told you about. So in February, when the weather allows, and today is a snowy day, so I would not go out and prune my fruit trees today. In the springtime, prune your fruit trees. So in February, go out and prune off all the dead. So the first thing you're going to do is go in there and you're going to prune off all dead branches. Anything that's dead, get it out of there. Second you're going to do is go in and get rid of any damaged branches. So our snow today may have broken a few branches on your fruit tree, and if they did, then you would want to prune those out of your fruit tree. The other thing is if there's anything that looks like it might have a disease. Now, sometimes it's really hard to tell if there's a disease, but if in doubt, get rid of it. That is preventative. And I'm going to talk a lot about preventative things in the talk today, but preventative is very, very key with your fruit trees. So please do preventative and get rid of anything that looks like it might be damaged. What you'd want to do is you'd want to prune out anything that is competitive. So if you've got two branches that are next to each other, cut out one of those. Let's do that one, that finger. The other ones are inappropriate. So you'd want to prune out that one and leave this main stem as your stem that you're going to keep, because competing branches, there's two things. One of them is that if there's two competing branches, they're going to basically compete for light, and the fruit is going to bang into each other. But the other thing is then when the wind blows, they're going to knock into each other. So that brings also to crossing branches. So anything that might be crossing, you might want to get rid of, or even if it's close to each other, because when the wind blows, it's going to hit each other. So crossing branches would be the next thing to cut out. And then after you're done with all of those things, then you're going to bring it down just a little bit. And if you do that every year, you cut your tree down just a little bit, you'll keep the tree basically in a nice shape, and it'll keep it more compact. Now tell everybody that don't worry, cutting and pruning your tree is like trimming your hair. Boo-boo, know your tree is going to forgive you and it will grow out. And then the next thing is preventative sprays. So in the springtime, we want to do a couple preventative sprays. And one of them would be, Pruning Sealer. I forgot to tell you that when you prune your branches, Pruning Sealer is a good idea. It's not going to prevent damage to your stems, but I tell people what it is it's a bandage. And bandages are good because they keep things out. So use Pruning Sealer to keep just basically like a bandage on your cuts, and that will help your tree out. And then horticultural oil. So this is the next thing you want to do. So first thing in the spring, you do your pruning. And then after you do your pruning, then you want to do the horticultural oil. Now, horticultural oil will basically go over the tree and suffocate insects. Don't do this too early. Really need to wait until the temperatures are above freezing for 24 hours. So you want to do this probably more towards late February would be a good time to do it, maybe even early March. But you do want to do this before the leaves come out on the tree. So do this in early spring, and this will suffocate your insects. Then the next thing is, after you do that, you can do this together, but do them separately. So do this one first, and then do this one. This is copper fungicide, and it's really important for a lot of our stone fruits. Because they get some of the issues that we want to take care of and suffocate in the springtime. So one of the issues is maybe the peach leaf curl. It is in the valley, and so if you've had issues or your neighbors had issues, you'd want to do this in spring as a preventative. It also takes care of shot hole fungus and even fire blight. It'll help just again, as a preventative. Like I said, a lot of the things I'm talking about is preventative things. So do this as a preventative in the spring. This is copper fungicide. This is the organic version of it. So there is an organic version that, and also this horticultural oil is also organic. So all of these things are all organic that you could use, and they all preventative for things that you're going to see in the summertime. So if you had any problems last year and you had any concerns about your fruit trees, please come in and talk to us. These are preventative measures, but there's other things that you might have seen last year that you have concerns about or you have questions about. Come in, and the name of the game is, again, preventative. I keep saying that word, don't I? But if you wait until you see the problem in the summertime, it's really hard to get a handle on it. But if you come in the springtime and talk to us and get a program started for how to control and take care of any issues or any concerns you had during the summer last year, come in and talk to us now in the springtime. So let's move on. The next thing in the spring, and these are early spring. This is going to be a little bit later. So we're going to talk about fertilizer. So this one and this one. This is the non-organic version, and this is the organic version of fertilizer. So in the springtime when it buds out, so we've got leaves finally on our trees, and the trees are starting to grow. We want to use one of these fertilizers to fertilize our trees. The fruit trees put a lot of energy into growing and into their fruit. So it is important to fertilize in the springtime. You should only need to do it once. I wouldn't wait until late spring to do it. Ideally, when the leaves are starting to pop out on your tree is when you want to hit them with that fertilizer. So there's one more product I want to talk to you about, and that is Spinocid. In the summertime, you will get little worms that get into your apples and your cherries and sometimes the peaches. So in the summertime, you're going to hit your trees with this product. Apples, you want to start spraying for the coddling moth, which is the little moth that lays the eggs on the apples right after the petals fall off of the flowers. So 10 days after the petals fall off of the flowers, you're going to hit the apple blossoms with this product, and this is organic, so that's a good thing. So in the spring, when the petals fall, you're going to hit it with this. And then I would say about 3 to 4 times during the season, if you do another application, you will keep the little worms from getting into your apples. Like I said, a few worms you can cut out, but this product really helps make it so that your apples are much more edible. And then the cherries also get a worm in them, and it's called a little cherry maggot, but it's because it becomes from a fly instead of a moth, but they're still little worms. And you want to use this when the cherries start to blush. So when you see a little blush on your cherries, that's when you spray this product on. And it's really important to help with getting rid of those cherries. And peaches sometimes can get a little worm in them, but not very often. So it's really the apples and the cherries that you're going to use this product for. Cleanup is really important. Cleanup of all the fruit is really important, especially for those cherries that I told you about. So those cherries that get the little worm in them, those cherries fall to the ground, and that worm is in the cherries, and for the cherries, it overwinters in the ground underneath your tree. So get rid of the cherries that you don't eat, and you get rid of the worms that will be there, well, the larva that is going to create the little flies that are going to come up and infect your trees again. So when you're done with your cherry crop and there's still a few cherries on there, clean those off. Apples also, get rid of any fruit you don't eat. It's really important because those also have the little worm, and there's more than one generation of those little worms a year. So if you see apples on the ground, pick them up, throw them in the garbage, because otherwise those are going to hatch and go up to your fruit. So cleanup is really important. And then in the fall also you want to clean up anything that's around your trees, any fallen fruit, any leaves or anything. In the middle of the summer, a good rule of thumb is to thin your fruit. So you have a lot of fruit on your tree, and you don't want to let all those fruit ripen. Otherwise it will be too heavy and too much fruit for the tree. If you thin your fruit to where they're about this far apart between each fruit, then you'll have the right amount of fruit for the tree. Less fruit actually means bigger, juicier, sweeter fruit on your tree, which is what it's all about. We're about trying to get those wonderful fruits so we can eat them, and for our kids too. So thin the fruit. And one other thing is, new trees, I would suggest on the first year or two, and especially the first couple years, do not let a whole bunch of fruit ripen on your tree. Now, I usually tell people the rule of thumb is to take all the fruit off the tree and don't let any of the fruit ripen on your new trees. I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to ask you to do that either. So I tell people, let only like a handful of fruit ripen on your tree. That way you get to taste it, but your tree can put all of its energy into growing. So that's for the first 2 years. And then after that, thin your fruit to that far apart. We talked about the cleaning up of the old fruit, but also in the fall, I would clean up old leaves too. So cleanup is another one of those preventative things. So you're going to clean up leaves, clean up fruit, clean up around the trees, even old weeds and stuff around your trees. Really helps keep a lot of issues that could happen next year from happening, just as a preventative. One other thing for your apricots and peaches is to do a fall spray of the copper fungicide too. That is very important for controlling issues that could be sitting on your trees for next spring. This will also help if you think your neighbor or somebody around you had fire blight. So you might want to do this again in the fall also for your apple trees. But this is a very good preventative thing to do for those apples, apricots, nectarines, those kind of things that could have issues next year with fungal issues. So a fall application after the leaves drop of this. And then I didn't bring out any of the tree wrap, but in the fall, wrap your new trees until they get a woody, quirky bark on them. That prevents winter damage, because in the winter time, the trunks can freeze and break open. So you want to wrap the trunks in the fall, and that is for the winter time. It's called sun scald, but it's really more about the cold temperatures and the sun on the trunk. And the last thing is, there is literature out there about fertilizing your fruit trees in the fall. I don't know where this is coming from, but I'm guessing that it is coming from warmer climates. And we are not a warmer climate here. In Boise, Idaho, do not fertilize your fruit trees in the fall. None of this in the fall. For a matter of fact, you do not want to put this on any trees in Boise in the fall. So that pretty much wraps up our whole entire season with our fruit trees. I think that if you do the preventative things, then you should have no problems whatsoever. But if you did have any questions, pop down, talk to us. We're here to help you out. And it's all about having fruit, you know. It's about having the kids run out there, or the grandkids, and pick a fresh fruit and eat it fresh off the tree, and you know exactly what you've put onto it. And if you've used organic products, you know that there's no chemicals on them. So it's really awesome to grow fruit trees here in Boise, Idaho. There's just a great thing. So thank you very much, and I'll be seeing you at FarWest.